champions. I'm Amy Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative, and I am just so pleased today to introduce you to Christian and Christine Meert. This French-born couple came to the United States in 1999 to serve at a Catholic community in Denver. They founded Agape Catholic Ministries in 2004 and created a pre-marriage course that has helped more than 60,000 engaged couples across the globe grow a strong, Christ-centered marriage. The course combines the convenience of online and on-demand access with the ability to build relationship with a role model couple and works especially well for couples separated by distance, in the military, or with difficult work schedules. The program is featured on the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops website as a valid marriage prep course and also is listed as a resource on the Archdiocese for the Military Services website. Christian and Christine, thanks so much for being here.
Hello.
Hello, it's good to be with you. Nice.
Yes, I'm so glad. Well, I was very intrigued when I first met you. We don't, in America, we don't often think of missionaries coming to us. We think of going, like we were just talking, I went to Rwanda in 2014. We think of us going, but you came here. Tell us about your story. You came here in 1999. What brought you here?
Okay. At that time, we were members of a charismatic community, Catholic community, where we have families, nuns in habit, and priests and deacons. And it's just happened that Archbishop Chaput invited this community that was started in France a long time ago. I don't know.
1973.
Yes. Okay. And so we came just to start a house of prayer. That was the original thing. Okay.
And that's the mission we had at first. And I mean, we didn't come like to convert people like you would do, like, in Africa or whatever, but we came to just share our way of prayer and of praying. Yes. And the liturgy and the beauty of the liturgy we had and the charism of this community.
Yes.
Yeah. And you came with 3 of your 5 daughters, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And the elder daughter was at Franciscan University, and the other one stayed in France for studies in France. Yeah. So there's only 3 out of 5.
But once you got here then, it wasn't long before they had you start teaching the pre-married classes, correct?
Oh, yes. It started very, very, very fast because the Archbishop Chaput asked us to bring 3 things. One was our love for the beautiful liturgy, because it was Byzantine inspired and was very nice. We were spending 4 hours in the chapel every day. And also to do something for the families. And since we had good experience with a lady, a theologian, the French theologians, who was advisor to St. John Paul II on theology of the body and other things. So we had already a love for marriage prep. I mean, we were attracted, and to see when we were looking at the work of this lady and the theology of the body, we say, well, we have the frame really for that. So we offered, well, what about theology, about marriage prep? And Archbishop said, yes, do marriage prep. And then we worked with him. We showed him what we were doing and everything. And he said, okay, after a while, go for it. And we did.
And you created your program, your marriage prep program, following the theology of the body, because I think that's important for our marriage champions to know that is the framework and the foundation of your Agape Catholic Ministry program.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
and it all started with Genesis, the vocation of man, the vocation of woman, and God's plan for marriage. So that was the first impulse.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and that was really important. And you started teaching it and you had some really great success. Tell us about how everything evolved.
Well, at first we started only in in-person classes, and at first we were just giving a lecture.
Yeah.
You know, we know things, and you listen to us.
Listen to us, and then we ask you a question if you have understood everything. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
that,
test, right? Were you paying
yeah. We
attention?
didn't do that very long because we didn't like it. We wanted to be more, to the couples to be more involved and participate in the class. So thanks to our last daughter's teacher, who was a teacher of teachers, he helped us redo the whole thing and make it using the heuristic method, asking questions to the couples to push them to think and discuss and ask questions. So it was a lot better.
Oh yeah, and it was very good because then every couple could tell us their story. And then so every time it was new. It was new. It was not like repeating a teaching or a lecture every time. No, it was an interactive, very nice and very enjoyable.
And one day we were asked to help couples who were in the mountains who couldn't go to a in-person class. And since our course had become very interactive, we decided to do it over email. So we would send them all the questions and everything, and they would answer, and we would answer them back with the teachings of the church and our answers. And we found it so amazing because it was just one couple with us, and they could share a lot more. I mean, they were so open and so personal that we loved it. And Christian had the idea, why don't we do a website? We had no clue on how to do that because it was 2002,
2003, yeah, something like this. So there was no, off the shelf program to build your website. but the Lord was good with us.
The Lord provided, yeah, and we got the janitor of the parish where we were to help us build the first website.
Yeah, you had mentioned that it was the janitor, but he was not really just a janitor, right? You said he was a owner who had an understanding of early website design, and he was working at the church part-time because he wanted to be available, right, for the kids that he was doing was it doing their communion or their first
confirmation?
Their confirmation.
Yes. So it was available to the children at the the parish school, and then he became available to us.
Yeah. He helped us greatly.
He helped us a lot. I mean, incredible. Okay, that was the first start. Boom.
And you were the first ones to have a Catholic marriage prep program on a website back in the early 2000s.
Yes, we were the first one. Yep.
Well, and I want to go back to what you were talking about the heuristic method, because I had never heard that before, because I want to make sure our marriage champions understand this, because I didn't understand until you really explained it to me. You guys don't have videos. You guys don't do, so even though you're online on demand, it's not, plug in, watch a video, move to the next session. The way you work with the couples that you mentor, or now you have 35 other trained instructors.
Yeah.
You work in a very individual way. So let's talk about the way that Agape Catholic Ministries, the way your program works, because it is different than others that are available online.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes. So I'll let you
start. Okay. So heuristic, it means that we kind of force the couples to think, to find in themselves the answers they have. So, for example, who is God for you?
Yeah.
That's the second question. Who is God for you?
Who's God for you? And they have to discuss it together, and to, when somebody asks you that, sometimes you feel lost, and you have to look inside yourself and who is God for me? So that's what we want to do with them. Like Jesus used that method in the Gospels. when he said,
Yeah.
and who do you say that I am, to his disciples? And that's when Peter answered, you are the Christ. But he wanted them to think, who do you say that I am?
And we want personal answers, because it's easy to say God is. Okay. Well, complete the sentence now. God is for you, not for everybody, just for you. And then you express it and you exchange with your future spouse about who is God for you, and then you write it down. So it's easy to catch up something stupid when you're talking, but when you write it down, it's written. So even when you write something stupid, you say, "Oh no, Christian, don't write things like this. This is stupid." And if I don't find it stupid, she will tell me, "Hey,
Yeah.
Christian, look at what you have written here."
And it leads to a lot of deep discussions between the couple. What we want them to accomplish through the marriage prep is not just to get a bunch of knowledge, but to really build the foundations of their marriage together, to really go where they deep inside and build their foundations.
And they get to know each other, because that's not the kind of discussions they have when they are on the date.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant and a movie or whatever, they're not going to have this kind of conversation, or not sure about that.
A lot of them would like to have just videos because it's so much easier. You just sit passively in front of a video and you wait until it's over. And it might be interesting. You can discuss a little bit, but that's it. I mean, it doesn't go very far. And we want them to go further. So it's work. It's work.
Yeah. So we do have some clips.
We do. Yeah, we have
videos,
clips and
just make it more attractive
to kind of complement
yes
the teachings of the church,
but we don't want
they're short.
Yeah, we don't want the whole teaching to be on the video, because I just saw in a in a study that the brain, when you are watching a video or a movie or TV, your brain is less active than when you sleep.
Wow.
So we would like them to put themselves into it, really put their heart in it.
We want it to be life-changing for them.
Yes.
That's what we want. And we ask the questions first. We don't give a teaching. And they're kind of confused, especially those who are teachers, because they don't get it. Usually you get a teaching and you have questions about the teaching. But we don't act like this. We give them, they might have a text to read, verses from the Bible or something, or catechism, but we don't ask specific questions about the text. We just ask them questions that they can find answers in the text, but they need to think.
Yeah.
Well, they have to, we ask questions first, and then when they give us their answers, we respond with the teachings of the church. So they are interested in knowing if they were right or not.
They want to know the answer. They want to know for sure.
Because they submit them to you then, and then you look at them and provide personalized feedback to them.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, so that's how it works.
As you're building this, go ahead.
And at the same time, there's no judgment, because we ask them what they think, what it means, what means this or that for them. So we cannot judge that. It's for them. It's their thing.
We still, when
but
they are,
we have to complete and kind of redirect sometimes.
We redirect.
Well, I know, because let's talk about some of the content and some of the questions, so that, because it is based on theology of the body, and it's very, directly connects, with the Catholic Church and what is required for having the sacrament of marriage. So let's talk about that, because I know you even go through, like, line by line, correct, some of the sacrament of marriage and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The rite of marriage, but the rite of matrimony, we go line by line and ask them, have you come here freely? So we ask them, what is freedom for you? What is it, freedom?
What's your definition of freedom?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they try to find their own answers, and they write them down, and then we say, okay, guys, this is this is what you said, and whatever, and this is the teaching of the church on true freedom.
Yeah.
And then what does it mean to come to marriage freely?
Yeah.
Free from what? Free for, free. What does it mean? And then we explain to them how you need to be free to marry, not forced by someone, but also not already married to somebody else,
For example.
for example. But also free from drug or alcohol, on the day of the wedding. The priest can also free emotionally, and
Yes.
there are so many steps to that. So we go further. They give us an answer, and we take them further.
And we have heard so many stories from around. I can give you one story.
Yes, please.
It was one family. Well, the brothers sold their sister to other people,
To
okay?
their buddies.
Their buddies and things like this. So this is a horrible story. Sorry about it. But anyway, the first guy, who was kind of decent, we talked to that girl, asked her to get married. She just left because she wanted to leave a horrible situation, which everybody can understand, that abusive situation and everything. But was she completely free to marry that specific person? Maybe
She
not.
wasn't. Yeah.
She would have had to go to counseling or to just make sure that she was
therapy, for sure.
Yeah, therapy. So that's an extreme story, but that's one. Also, have you come here freely and without reservation? What
reservation? Yeah.
For you, what does that mean, reservation?
Most of them, they say it's doubts. We doubt, but but no, it's not doubts. It's conditions you would have, like, okay, I'll marry you, but you have to stay young for the rest of your life. Or, okay, I'll marry you, but we don't have, I'll make sure we don't have any children.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
So wow. That's kind of big reservation.
Yeah.
But,
and then you help them build their spiritual relationship too with Christ. I know you mentioned that was really a strong component of your pre-Cana class.
Yes. Our mission is to build Christ-centered families, one at a time. One at a time. So yeah, we want them to be Christ-centered. So of course, yeah, we bring them to think about that. How is your marriage going to be Christ-centered?
And one very important element also is that we have a teaching on the formation of conscience. Yeah. Just for the people to understand that it's not what they believe or what they think is right, but it is right. It's not because they think it's right, but it's right. And what and where to form your conscience rightly. So,
and here we have three, in that teaching, we have 3 clips from Archbishop Sarton, the previous bishop of Seattle, who bases his teaching on a bumper sticker that he saw once that said, "Don't believe everything you think." And that's profound.
That's really interesting. Because you want them to have that spiritual awakening and bringing Christ in their marriage. And part of that is too, you mentioned helping the couples connect with their parish. So they may be, in the military, or they may be far away and can't do the premarital class, but eventually they'll plug into a Catholic community, correct?
Yes. So that's a big part also, because we don't want to have just in a segment of their life, we do marriage prep and that's it, over.
And then you're on your own. No, we want them to be attached to a parish, to be part of the community, and to.
So we explain life in the parish, and also at the end, we ask them, what do you intend to do for your parish? How do you want to be involved in your parish? And then they answer, he answers, I want to do this, this, and this. And she answers, I want to do this, this, and this. That's the way I want to be involved in the parish. And then in the feedback, we give it to the priest or deacon. And then they talk to the couples. And they can see, oh, you would like to teach, catechism classes to children. That's interesting. Maybe we can talk about it. Yeah. Or I want to sing in the choir. That's a lot of time we have this.
That's me.
Nice.
and so it opened the door to the people from the parish to talk to, to invite them to do something, to be part of the parish.
I love that. And your very first couple, it exemplifies after the one that was on the slopes with the email, once the very first one that found you through your website kind of exemplifies a couple that would be a great object. You said they were in China, but they weren't Chinese. What was
They were
their
Irish
Yeah, they were Irish teaching English
in China.
So
Yeah.
that was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting
Yeah.
for sure.
And they were your guinea pigs.
Yeah. And we had, because it started in the Archdiocese of Denver, and just by word of mouth, the priests talking to each other, parishes talking to each other, and everything,
And couples talking to
couples
their
their
friends.
friends, because we are of the same age, getting married. Oh, what did you do? Blah blah. And so it started to grow pretty fast. So that was interesting, but first in the States, of course, and then China.
First Denver, and then
and elsewhere, and then more than 60,000 now have access. Let's talk a little bit about maybe how it works with because you've trained 35 other instructor couples. Let's talk about them, because I know you kind of pair them up. If maybe a military couple might pair with a military couple, and you've had some nice endorsements from, obviously the Conference of Catholic Bishops and the Archdiocese for the Military Services. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how those relationships were formed.
At first, we had friends and friends of friends, and then we had to put ads to. And just today, we got somebody who wants to be a bilingual instructor,
Spanish English,
And from what they said, it looks like it's obvious that they went through marriage prep with us, and they say, well, we have been married 5 years, because we ask people to be married at least 5 years. And it was just like, and we loved the sessions, and it looked like,
Well, I'm not sure.
We are not quite sure, but it's.
We haven't. We just got the resume in the mail
just today. So we'll see, and it's very, interesting couples for sure.
But yes, we try to pair couples with couples of older couples getting married are paired with an older couple, instructor couple, so that they can understand each other. We have couples who were not both Catholic, and our instructors, they were not both Catholic, and he became Catholic or she became Catholic, so they can understand better the other couples who have mixed faith, how
to pray together, and even if we are not of the same religion, of the same faith, how to pray together, how to raise the children, things like this. It makes it so much easier to build the necessary trust between the couples.
We also have couples who have had a declaration of nullity of their previous marriage, and that's our instructors, so they got married, so they can understand the couples who are going through convalidation too.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up the convalidation and the trust, because that is one of the things that you do. You say that because it's kind of a back and forth, and it's not in person or even, on stream like we are now, people really open up and ask you some things, sometimes those hard questions that, where the faith and the culture kind of collide, and you guys are good with that. You say you like the hardest couples.
Yeah, true. Well, right now I'm working with a couple where it's not my couple, it's another instructor couple, but they asked me to help because she's a feminist, and obviously she's answering with chat GPT or something like this, or from the internet. She's just putting the quotes, and she's absolutely not into it. So it's tough. We have couples like that. We do. And it's hard to bring them to really open up. If they don't want to, you can't, there's nothing you can do. You try your best, and that's it.
And we hope that little by little, whatever.
Even
we have
later,
prayed.
after the marriage prep, after
Yeah.
they are married, maybe some things will come back to her, hopefully.
Well, and you guys are really good at getting that trust. You know, the other thing, I'm so glad you brought up the word convalidation, because that is another great opportunity for couples that perhaps were civilly married and
Mhm.
and realize they desire. Explain how that is. Is it the sacrament of matrimony? You guys have the right language for it.
Yes, convalidation is a sacrament of matrimony
For those who are
for both
baptized.
Christians. And a lot of people, they have this idea that it's just a blessing or recognition from the church of an existing situation. They have been married 20 years and they say, okay, could you give us a little blessing? And then we keep going. But no, they have they are going to exchange the sacrament of matrimony. That's also something in the Catholic Church. Normally it's a priest or a deacon is going to give the sacrament. Here it's a couple. The couple will exchange the sacrament. So that's why they have to be Christians. Baptized. And so they have to prepare. It's not just a stamp or something. No, it's a real, I have the word in French, but not in English, but it's really a step, okay? They do have to have that step and go for it. So they understand the meaning of the sacrament. They understand the grace that is attached to the sacrament. They have to understand the sign. What is the sign of the sacrament? So all this looks like information. It's not information. It's really, you really have.
Yeah, and they were married civilly, meaning that Christ wasn't at the center of their marriage. So we want to bring Christ at the center of their marriage.
Yeah.
So it's work. It's work.
And you have quite a few couples of your, it's quite a percentage. It's
20%
of the
21% last year were convalidation, and 35% last year were mixed faith marriage. So that means one was not Catholic. So of course our class is our program is called Agape Catholic Marriage Preparation.
Yeah.
So no doubt, okay.
It's Catholic.
No, but they have that desire, and then you have the program. And I'm so glad we brought that up too, because the program is available in English and Spanish, and not surprisingly, your first language, French,
Yes.
and also the bilingual.
Yes. Bilingual, especially English and Spanish, because it happens a lot that, you know, one is more comfortable in English and the other one is more comfortable in Spanish. So they want to be able to talk the way they talk on a daily basis, of course, but at the same time to write things.
To understand everything.
They might be more comfortable. Yeah. And we even have one couple, instructor couples, who are Vietnamese. So the engaged couples can answer back. It's all in English, but they can answer back in Vietnamese.
Or explain something better, you know, in Vietnamese, or go further.
Yeah.
That is so good. And now too, there are different links. Normally the program takes what, 3 to 4 months? Is that what you were saying? But it can be
we give 3 months, 3 to 4 months to the couple, but usually the average is 6 weeks. People finish it in 6 weeks. That's the average.
Yeah.
And there's an accelerated version too, right?
Yeah, we have an express lane for urgent care couples. So they have at least, they need to have at least 10 days, because it's impossible to do in just, 2 days or 3 days or whatever.
Because they have to work every day, and it takes about 20 hours just to go through the program without including the discussions. And some couples, they tell us, well, we have been, we had 3 date nights on just one question. Yeah. So that's not included, okay?
Well, I'm thinking that maybe somebody's about to get deployed, but they want to get married, and that would be a real reason to go ahead and do that quickly and be motivated too. So
they are called to go on training, and it's from one day to the next. So they have to, and then maybe
I think we ask them at least 3 weeks, isn't it? Yeah. We ask them to have 3 weeks. because we don't work on the weekends.
Right.
So they have to have at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, we don't want also the instructor.
And we don't want it to be too rushed because it's so important.
Yes.
So
No.
yeah.
Oh, well, this has just been so wonderful. It's been so great talking to you. You have such valuable offerings here for the Catholic couples that want to start their marriage off on the Christ-centered foundation. So just thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
hosting us.
hosting us, yes.
Well, that was my pleasure. And as
pleasure.
always, marriage champions, if you'd like to know more about the Meerts and Agape Catholic Ministries, you can find us at marriageinitiative.org.